Hi Tracy, how are you today?
I'm really good, thanks, Susie. Yeah, it's just things are really shifting. Like you, I've been doing a lot of self-work recently, and I'm really starting to see some results, which is great. So, how's things with you?
Manic. I think I want to say, yeah, definitely things are shifting. I've got my deck launch on Friday, so working
Ah,
hard towards that.
so what time is that on Friday the 22nd?
Friday the 22nd at 4 p.m. Central European time, which is 3 p.m. UK time.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Good. Excellent. So, what have we got in store for people today?
I think talking about the chakra system would be a good start. Let's introduce things slowly. And
Yeah.
obviously, let us know as well if you work with the chakra system, if you're aware of different things. There's only so much that we can cover,
Mm.
right, Tracy, in one of our talks. So, if you've got something to add, then please comment.
Absolutely. And, we talked about this before. We work so very differently, yet we end up with the same outcome virtually. And the chakras is another one. How I work with them and how you work with them is going to be very different. And how our students and our clients understand them and work with them is very different as well. So it's a really key component of the work that we do. I don't think I need to dive massively deep into each chakra, but if people want to know more, I do have an ebook on chakras, and I do a workshop where we spend the whole day diving into the chakras. But I think for today's purposes, if we go with the basics and then on another show we can add in the deeper stuff, because I don't know about you, sometimes this stuff fries my circuits and I'm just like, I can't take
Yeah, I mean, it is very involved. It can be very involved. And
it.
obviously, it's up to you how involved you want to be with the chakra system. But it is important to have an understanding of the chakra system because it is key to how we show up, how we feel, how we connect, and so many different things.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And the more you know about the chakras, the more effective you're going to be as a spiritual being. Even if you don't want to do readings, you don't want to do healing, just being aware of how those chakras are sending information to you all the time
Mm.
is really important. So when I'm teaching my students, whether that's psychic development or Reiki, I go through the sort of basics, but I do really impress them on that if they go away and learn as much as they can about the chakras, it's a massive game changer for them as a person and them as an intuitive being. So I think it's something that's really important. I'm just going to change my blinds because all I can see is stripes of light.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, especially for those that are empathic, and that feel clairsentient, and knowing where your gifts stem from is going to be really helpful in how you process that information that's coming through, especially if you're working with clients.
Mm. I don't think that I realized that for a really long time. Even once I qualified as a Reiki practitioner and master, I still don't think that I really got how important the chakras are. And I would say it's probably only in the last 8 years that I've really taken that understanding to a different level. And it's kind of been this massive aha moment. So, don't expect to learn everything about the
Mm.
chakras. Even just from us today, there's so much more. But honestly, it's such a massive part of what we do.
It really is, especially for healing, especially for calling in more money, more abundance, and all of those things. If we have blockages within our chakra system, we're blocking our flow of energy, vibrance, money, and all of those different things. So it is important to have that understanding. I do have a wealth activation actually that clears all the money blocks from the
Oh,
whole
cool.
of our chakra system, and it tells you exactly what block is being held in what chakra so that you can start to work on it and clear it. Because for
Mm,
me, it's not enough to just want to clear things. We need to have an understanding of what we're clearing, why we're clearing it,
yeah.
and why different chakras hold different blockages.
Absolutely, yeah. This is what I said. There's just so much to them. So,
Bless
excuse me,
you.
are ready to talk through me already. Once they start connecting, my throat starts going and I start coughing. So interesting. So, do you want to start with the first chakra?
Yeah, so for me, I'm only going to talk about this very, very briefly because it is one of the um, more multi-dimensional chakras, which is the Earth Star chakra. And this is where I base a lot of my work from. So I tend to use the Earth chakra and the Soul Star chakra, which are kind of outside what we're going to really dive into today. But just having that awareness that there is an Earth Star chakra that we can connect to that really helps us to ground. This is where I feel our money stories and our money beliefs are blocked here. And this is what comes up a lot through Akashic Record readings that I do, is that people are kind of missing this grounded energy from the Earth Star chakra. So I think we're going to go into more detail with the extra like kind of the multi-dimensional ones. We're going to try and stick to the 7 main chakras today. There are actually 12, but I think we'll stick to the 7. So just wanted to bring the Earth Star chakra in. So let us know in the comments if you know what the Earth Star chakra is and if you work with it. And then do you want to dive into the root chakra, Tracy?
Yeah. So the chakras follow the rainbow. So Richard of York gave battle in vain for those that did that at school. The root chakra is red, which is why it's Richard. Now, the root chakra is all about being grounded, and that's in addition to the Earth Star chakra that you just mentioned. And when we talk about people not being grounded, that's because that chakra isn't working properly. Now, when a chakra is imbalanced, it can be overactive or underactive, and they have different symptoms that you would find. And obviously, if it's not working properly, then you would expect to be ungrounded. And everybody is different. So I can't tell you, Suzi, what your chakra looks like, how fast it's spinning, what its vibration is, because that's unique to you. And
Mm.
you may not even know what is right for you, but you'll know when it's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if somebody went for healing, if somebody went for some chakra balancing, the practitioner will know that it's not balanced, and they can probably tell if it's overactive or underactive. They don't need to know, is it the right color? Is it the right speed, the right vibration? Because they'll just know intuitively that it's not, or it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the root chakra is incredibly important, because we can't go round being like too high up in the energy and all wafty and not connected, because when you're not grounded, it can make you clumsy, it can make you kind of feel like your brain's not working properly. It's hard to explain.
Mm.
The root chakra is something everybody needs to be checking on and making sure they're grounded. And when we're doing spiritual work, people seem to think that when we're doing spiritual work, we want to be in that really high energy, and we do, but we also need to be more like a hot air balloon where it's tethered to the earth, even though it's floating up there. We don't want to just cut away the line that secures it to the earth, because it will just float off, and that's no good. So your root chakra is grounding you and keeping you tethered to your physical body and the earth plane. Okay, so that's
Mm.
why it's so hugely important. Okay, it's also all about your sense of security. So in the current climate, where there's a lot of money worries and economic concerns, a lot of people, that chakra is going to be out of balance, even if it's just because they're hearing the news. It doesn't mean that you in your life are having money problems. But if you're worrying, going, oh God, they've just announced a new tax, how's that going to affect me? Oh, they're announcing redundancies at work, how's that going to affect me? All of that is going to disturb that chakra, and it will manifest as health issues, it will manifest in behavior and emotionally. So it's a really, really important chakra.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive chakra. I found that a lot of what's coming up in our readings is about security and safety, and that's all the root chakra.
Yeah, Absolutely. And, you know, you can rebalance it really easily. You know, this isn't about making people go and spend loads of money. You can just go and get a red crystal. You can wear red knickers or pants. You can wear a red belt because it's in the same sort of area. And anything red there or red foods will help to rebalance it. If it's feeling sluggish, then you need a vibrant red. If it
Mhm.
feels like it's too active, then you need something that's more muted, okay? Because you don't want to overstimulate something that's already overstimulated. So there's lots of easy ways to be able to balance. Obviously, visualization and meditation are great. What else would you normally use to balance someone out?
A pendulum.
Of course, yeah.
So a pendulum is a great way to make sure that, you know, it's spinning, that it's clearing. If I was doing it for someone else, I would look to see what the blockages are, where they are within that chakra, and pull them out.
Yeah.
But also use the pendulum just to make sure that everything's cleared, and everything is spinning in the right direction, without any bumps in the road kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Now, there's lots of different schools of thoughts. Some people say that the first chakra goes clockwise, the next one goes anti-clockwise. Some people say they all go in the same direction. What have you found when you're working?
I found that they all go in the same direction.
Yeah, same here. I just find that sometimes if there's a problem with one, it might spin differently.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why, you know, working with the pendulum, always making sure that they are spinning clockwise. And if they're spinning anti-clockwise, then there is an issue or a block or
Mm.
something that needs to be cleared.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when there's a chakra that's out of balance, it's going to affect the ones either side of it because
Yeah.
it has a knock-on effect. So if you're having an issue with your root chakra, that's going to also show up in the sacral chakra, which is also known as the navel chakra. Why name things once when two or three times? So the navel chakra, if you think navel oranges, you know, the beautiful big oranges, that is the color of that chakra. And
Yeah.
as with the root chakra, the color and the vibration and everything is going to be unique to you. But if it's not balanced, then you're going to really know about it. And it's all about your sexuality. And so this is where your past lives will come in. So I'll hand over to you in a second. But if you've got an imbalance there, you may find that you not necessarily have a sex addiction, but you've got a very, very high drive heading towards addiction. Or you might find you've gone the other way and have no drive and even have issues over your sexuality for whatever reason, which is where I would jump into the Akashic Records and see what's been going on.
Absolutely. Things like the prostitution wound would be held in the sacral chakra. So, as Tracy said, it's a beautiful orange. It really is connected to our emotions. So, if you're clairsentient, this is where you are going to feel it. If you're an empath, you're going to feel it here, as well. You'll feel it in your heart as well if you're an empath, but you will feel those emotions. So, you know, when you go into a room and you pick up the energy of the room and you either feel excited or you feel a bit wary or you feel completely closed down, this is your sacral chakra. This
Mm,
is where those emotions are really held, and this is where we can start to, you know, that sinking feeling in your tummy, that is here. Or that kind of excited energy and
mm,
emotion, that is all your sacral chakra. So this is also connected to your creativity as well. So a lot of past lives and the emotions that we carry from past lives, the creativity that we've had in past lives can all be connected to our sacral chakra. And as with all of our chakras, it can be underactive. And that's where we can hold guilt, shame, fear. So there's lots of fears that will come up here, but fear of intimacy, which is connected to the sexual side of things. But fear of being seen is going to be held here. That's going to be in your heart as well, but that's going to come up really here. So when we're working in the Akashic Records, the main woundings and blocks that come up, they're going to be held, or the emotion is going to be held and stuck in your sacral chakra.
Mm.
So if it's overactive, then it's going to be overindulgence, addiction, like you said. So it's addictions of all sorts,
Yeah.
and probably drama.
Mm. Yeah.
Right, drama is going to be connected here if it's overactive. So it's almost like wanting to be the center of attention and attracting drama, and all of those things. So
Mm.
with the sacral chakra, you're going to get, if there's blocks and illnesses that are related to it, they're going to be around lower back,
Yeah.
kidneys, bladder, everything that's kind of in that area.
Yeah. So you might get a lot of kidney infections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and also the other wound that I come across a lot in there is where someone's been in holy orders before, and that
Mhm.
can affect sexuality, because obviously you've taken a vow of chastity,
Yeah.
and so that vow can be lodged in there. I can't think what wound I call that. My brain's gone dead. I'm going to call it the nun's wound, but it's not.
Yeah, no, I mean that would be that could be the wound of servitude, solitude, service.
Mm.
There's lots of different woundings that could be that would kind of cover that. But what I found is one of the biggest issues that comes through the sacral chakra into our kidneys is fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's the adrenal glands. And
Yeah,
when you're frightened, you pump adrenaline and run away from the saber-toothed tiger. So
yeah,
that makes perfect sense for that to be in there. So adrenal fatigue and burnout can be in that, because normally we work really, really hard because we feel insecure. I've got to have more money. I've got to have more promotion. I've got to have more success. Even if that's coming from a good place initially, it can slip into a negative place.
yeah,
Um, and then we move up to the solar plexus, which is just above the belly button, and that's yellow. So think cowdy custard, yellow belly, those kinds of things. And if you've got an imbalance there, and I see this with a lot of women, you may well have IBS. And it's
mhm,
because the emotions are being internalized rather than processed, and it's messing with the digestive system. Now, that might mean that you've got an upset stomach, but it might mean that you struggle to go, depending on what's actually at the root of that, that emotional stuff that you're internalizing.
yeah,
And the solar plexus obviously sucks in a lot of psychic energy as well. So other people's energy, other people's moods, because you're an empath, can also be internalized and cause you problems. And you think your life's great, but it's everyone around you. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the solar plexus is very much about our willpower, our confidence, our personal power, our self-esteem, our get up and go,
yeah,
and all of those things. And certainly with things like the priestess wound, where we've had our personal power suppressed, this is going to show up in the solar plexus as well as the sacral chakra, because we have been suppressed, we've been hidden
yeah.
by others, we've been feared. So that's going to have a massive effect on our personal power.
Absolutely. And another point here is that the first three chakras are all our earth based ones. There are human chakras, if you like. And when we move on to the heart chakra, that's the bridge between the two. So we're now coming into the spiritual chakras. And what you can find is that someone who's not done any spiritual work, they might find that their spiritual chakras are all out of balance, but their human ones are okay. And you might
Mm.
find that someone that does a lot of spiritual work, their human ones are out of balance, but their spiritual ones are okay. And then obviously there's the third camp where the whole lot are just messed up and they all need work. And that's fine, because we are a work in progress. You know, nobody arrives here on this planet
Yeah.
free of any emotional baggage. I call it past life hangover.
Yeah.
And then we build more in this life, just in case we didn't have enough already. And so
Yeah.
that all affects us, but it's like we're preloaded with challenges that we've got to work out, or we've got to deal with and let go of, so we can move on to the rest. So they are actually all part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we touched on this in our very first episode that we, before incarnation, agree to learn certain lessons, have certain experiences, and all of those things. So some of these will show up in the solar plexus because we're here to learn, grow, experience. And we have to experience the good and the bad, right? So we have an evil level, an even level, not evil, even level, right? So that we can see that, the different polarities and all of those things. So it is important that we know that we are here to experience growth. We're here to experience pain. We're here to experience lessons. And they're the things that are going to help us to move forwards and for our soul to evolve. So you may find with a blocked solar plexus that you're very low in confidence or you're in victim mentality, right? That's a
Yeah.
big one that comes up.
Yeah, lots of times that one comes up. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I mean, I predominantly work with women. Probably 90%, if not more, of my clients are women.
Yeah.
It's always been that way. It has shifted a little bit over the years, but it's still predominantly women. And women have a lot of ancestral trauma and beliefs that the guys don't, even
Hmm.
though our soul has come back as both. We've been male and female so many times. But if you look at society, women are still not respected. We're not equal. There's still that thing where a lot of people think women don't know what they're talking about. And so there's all this inequality that is a female soul issue. And I'm sure
Hmm.
there's a load of things that are male issues that they're dealing with. But I don't remember those lives yet. So I can only tell you about the ones that I do know. So there will be a lot of imbalances that are specific to women, or more prevalent in women, same as illnesses can be more prevalent in women.
Yeah.
So the heart chakra is normally pink. No, it's green. It's always green. But
Mm.
my trouble is I've always seen it as pink. So that's why I got that wrong. But that's to do with the higher dimensional chakras. And for some reason, ever since day one, I've been tuned into that. And I don't know why, but I just was. So it will be green. It's all
Mhm.
about new beginnings and love and compassion. So if you see it as green or pink, it doesn't matter. My favorite crystal is watermelon tourmaline, which literally looks like a slice of watermelon, and it's beautiful. It's not cheap, but it's beautiful. And
Mm.
that's how I see the heart. So apologies for telling you it was pink when it's green.
Well, we're all going to have different interpretations. So we're giving you kind of the basic structure
Mm,
of, what we've experienced, but you may experience different things, right? I
absolutely.
mean, through my research, I've read different things that have had the chakras in all sorts of different colors. So, this is just a basic what we've experienced in how we have gone through. I've got someone tickling my head. It's really annoying. Um, so the heart chakra is all about love, compassion, all of those things, emotional healing as well. So, from the emotions that have come up in our sacral chakra, the emotional healing we want to work with the heart chakra as well as the sacral chakra, because we hold our emotions in our heart. So if we are suffering loss of a person, most of that is going to be in our heart center.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it might be love of a fur baby, because let's face it, our pets are more like our family. And, I know that you've been through that recently, and it does, really literally break your heart. And so when there's problems in the heart chakra, you're going to see somebody have heart problems, lung problems, because it's all governed in that area. For
Mm.
instance, grief is very much a lung condition. So if you've got
Mhm.
respiratory problems and that's in the lungs, that will be down to grief.
Yeah.
And obviously, we can grieve for a relationship, we can grieve for a person, we can grieve for our dreams, we can grieve for all sorts of things, and that will lodge there. The heart chakra is very much the center for the empath, because we feel everything so much. So
Mm.
an empath, a healer, a therapist, a counselor, their heart chakra 9 times out of 10 is going to be like massive, huge and open, because of the work they do. So that would be expected. But if someone's been through a lot of trauma, a lot of loss, then it might have closed down, and then you find that they struggle to give love or feel love.
Yeah.
And that is a real issue, because we're meant to feel love. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. We're here to feel so many things. And funnily enough, today's card was fragmented soul.
Mm.
And I was talking about, losing parts and pieces of ourselves across lifetimes, timelines, and in particular trauma, and that loss. And that happens because we're not quite ready to feel all of those emotions and hold all of that just yet. So we lose parts and pieces of ourselves. So
Mm.
that's really interesting. And I think, when the heart chakra is overactive, this is where we start to see codependent relationships,
Yeah.
jealousy, neediness, or giving too much.
Yeah.
And, that is a spiritual women thing, isn't it?
Oh, hell yeah.
That we give everything of ourselves and expect nothing in return.
Yeah. And when I'm working with someone, doing my coaching, and they've got a heart chakra issue, I'm probably going to find that there's an issue with people pleasing and lack of boundaries.
Yeah.
Not every time, but it's there. And sometimes it might only be with themselves, like they don't do any self-care, they don't prioritize themselves. And that's definitely a mother thing and a female thing. And it is difficult because we're so busy, but we are people before we're wife, mother, daughter, whatever. And so we do need to make sure that we're giving to ourselves and nurturing ourselves. And so that's really important as well.
But yeah, I think, when I started with Reiki, that was the first thing I started, how I started my spiritual journey. It became really apparent to me that by, giving too much and not feeding myself back, I was starting to cause myself issues. And from
Mhm.
that point, I've always believed that it's so important that we look after ourselves first. Then we have more energy
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think most light workers, which is the umbrella term for people like us, healers, whatever you want to call us, I think most of us go through that. I know when I first started, I'd be, replying to messages at 11 o'clock at night, and I'd get phone calls at 3 a.m., which I did not respond to, but I'd get up in the morning and there's my phone with these missed calls at 3 a.m. And it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, or someone would say, oh, can you just squeeze me in? And I'd be like, oh, it's my day off. Oh, all right then. And then there went my day off, because I'd end up with another three. And, I had to start putting strong boundaries in place because I was just exhausted. And,
Yeah.
it's not fair to my family either. They're, you can't be on a day out taking phone calls and, dealing with messages and stuff when you're supposed to be out with your family, having some quality time. So I get that it's difficult, but boundaries are there to protect us. If you think about your garden, a fence is there to keep out the burglars and the wild animals, and it's
Yeah.
there to keep your pets in and demarcate what is your land. Otherwise, you'd just have, a horde of people walk across your garden. It's like, oh, well, I
Yeah.
didn't know there was no fence. So it is super important to have those boundaries, which leads on to the throat chakra, interestingly, because the throat chakra is the seat of our clairaudience, which is our hearing, our
Yeah.
clairvoyance, because the chakras do overlap. So although the third eye is really the clairvoyance, it can come from the throat chakra too, and our
Mhm.
smell and our taste. So they're all situated there, plus that clear speaking, as I call it, clear eloquence, they're all seated there. And if that's not balanced, then you're going to find a whole heap of problems. It's blue in color, so any bright blue stone or material will speed it up, and anything pale blue will slow it down. What I tend to find with the throat chakra, and again, it's predominantly a woman thing, um, interestingly, 80% of people with thyroid dysfunction are female.
Mhm.
80% of people with fibromyalgia are women. And it's because they can't speak out, they can't express themselves, they can't be their true self. Maybe they've been shouted down by an ex-partner or a domineering parent or a boss or even a teacher. Stop showing off and sit down. It's like, I wasn't showing off, I was being creative.
Yeah.
And so if you have an imbalanced throat chakra, you're very likely going to have an imbalance in your thyroid. You're going to have lots of throat problems, like those kids that get lots of tonsillitis and laryngitis. It'll be because they can't express themselves for whatever reason. And so you can see the patterns. And once you rebalance that chakra, A, all your spiritual skills will go off the chart, and B, you'll be able to express your authentic self when you feel the need to. So it's a really, really important chakra.
100%. And, you know, when we're looking at the work from the Akashic Records, when we're talking about the witch wound, like fear of speaking up, fear of showing your powers and all of that, the fear, the priestess wound, suppression,
Yeah.
right? And then you've also got the mother, father, and sister wounds where you're afraid of speaking up or you're afraid of being seen. Like they all kind of overlap a little bit, but are all very different.
Yeah.
They're all going to affect your throat chakra. So if you've had like a witch life, for example, and you were tortured, you were persecuted for being a witch, then you're holding that energy here. This is what is going to block you. And in this lifetime, you're going to be afraid of sharing your gifts, afraid of speaking up, afraid of being powerful, afraid of so many different things. So that's going to cause a blockage here in your sacral chakra as well, which is blocking your kidneys because of all that fear. Like they not one wounding or one trauma doesn't just affect one area, it can affect multiple
Yeah.
chakras, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of those like really big ones are going to be affecting your throat chakra, where you're afraid to speak up, you're afraid to be authentic and share your gifts and charge money and all of those things.
Yeah. What I found in Reiki sessions is if I'm working on the root chakra, then I will find that it skip one and the next one will be imbalanced.
Mm.
But then obviously if the solar plexus is out of balance, both either side will be, and so on. So it's like we heal in pairs, but whichever chakra is out of balance, it's going to have a knock-on effect. So it's interesting how it falls into the two different camps. But you're right, a lot of the problems that we have, they're rooted in more than one place. They can be rooted in more than one life, but they're going to show up in those chakras. And so you're going to be able to start pulling the thread, which hopefully we'll come back to later, start pulling that thread and unraveling it and healing it. So it's not the end of the world if it's in multiple chakras.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we are, when we're healing, we're going to be healing with like the issue rather than the what's the word? The symptom.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And in the
it will
West,
deal with,
the trouble is in the West, we like to deal with the symptom.
yeah,
Which, to me, the symptom is the red flag. And I go,
yeah,
right, that's going on. So that'll be the throat chakra or that'll be the solar plexus. So we come at it in a very different way to Western medicine. But then we're going to clear the whole root system. It's like ivy in your garden. You can't just pull up one bit and it's gone. It's like rife. It will have taken over.
yeah.
And so we have to find all the points of origin to be able to clear it.
Yeah, exactly. So when we're healing the whole body, not just the symptom.
Yeah. And, you know, we're not doctors. We're not here to diagnose. I'm not a big fan of labels per se, because people go, oh, I'm dyslexic, I can't do this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I've got a label, I can figure out which chakra it's mostly rooted in and what we need to do to clear it. So when we say healing, for me, that means I'm using different tools to help that people do the healing. So they're actually healing themselves. I'm just the assistant, if you like.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not going to lay hands on and suddenly someone's healed and they'll go, oh, brilliant, I'm all sorted, you know. So it's not quite the way that a lot of people perceive healing.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, it's taking that person into the Akashic Records so that they can see, understand, feel, you know, what was going on without the pain. Mention that, without the pain,
Yeah.
so that we can start to remove the blocks. And that will be done through their own meditation, or activation or whatever it may be that we're working with.
Do you not find though that sometimes it's just that aha moment? You know, I had a lady and she came to me for whatever problem it was, and actually she drowned on the Titanic. She was a waiter going out to be with her fiance. And after the session, she says to me, "Oh my gosh," she said, "I never thought to talk to you about my phobia of water." She said, "I can't even paddle. I can't go in a shallow pool. I can't go near water apart from a shower," because she said it just terrifies me. And as soon as we had that aha moment, her fear went.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So she was
Yeah.
really blown away. So actually just knowing where it comes from helps us to let go of it.
Yeah, 100%. I had the same with one of my ladies on fire.
Oh.
She had a fear of fire that she couldn't explain because nothing had happened to her in this lifetime that
Mm.
would cause her to fear fire. And it wasn't until we went back and we ended up in a witch life where she was burnt at the stake.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
it.
that
She
will do
didn't
it.
need any more healing. She had that understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just that that passing is so traumatic that the soul has held on to it. It's
Yeah.
it needs to process. And I always thought that we would do the processing between lives, but it looks like sometimes we either we don't finish that process, or we need to carry it into this life for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. It will always be for a reason. It's not just random and we haven't processed. It's here for a reason, for us to learn, to grow, to whatever it may be. And the more that we work spiritually, the more that we work on ourselves, the more we'll understand and gain that understanding that we need to release, to heal, or whatever it may be.
I think often, though, it can be a mechanism for somebody to want to go and see someone like you and I and go, "I need answers to this." And then when you do, they're like, "Oh my God." And suddenly they're into the spiritual and they weren't before. So I think sometimes it is a mechanism for the awakening, and that's its
Yeah.
sole purpose. And then it can go because we've opened the door and it's off we go. So.
Yeah, 100%.
So then we move on from the throat chakra to the third eye, which is here. And it's also called the brow chakra. Again, why name it once when more than one name will do the same trick? Which is very confusing to people. Like, I remember I would read books or, look at stuff. And even now I'll find stuff on the internet and they've called it this and they've called it that. And I'm like, well, it's the same thing. And does do my head in, though. It gets a bit confusing when there's too many names for the same thing. Um,
Yeah.
but the third eye is the home of the clairvoyance, the clear seeing. It's about our dreams. It's about our inspiration and the downloads from spirit. And when that's blocked, it's going to make it quite difficult to be able to use our clairvoyance and to be able to work on that spiritual basis. But again, it can be sorted out. Would that for you relate to the seer's wound or the oracle wound?
Yeah, 100%. Fear of what is being seen. Some people close down their third eye because perhaps they've had an experience as a child or a young adult where they've seen something that has scared them and they literally close that down. So yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Because when the third eye is overactive, it can cause hallucinations, paranoia.
Schizophrenia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. So, some people do close this down so that they don't see anymore, so that they don't see ghosts or spirits or their guardian angel, whatever it may be, because they've had an experience that has frightened them. And I found when I started this journey, I had an amazing friend that used to share her wisdom with me because she'd been doing it for a very long time. And she said to me, you need to put boundaries in place with your guides, otherwise they'll just come in with so many different things that perhaps you don't want to see or you don't want to acknowledge or deal with. Unless they know how you want them to work with you, they're just going to keep firing stuff at
Oh
you. So
yeah.
you need to tell them you don't want to be disturbed at night, or you don't want to connect with passed over loved ones, or whatever is right for you. And
Mm.
I've always believed that we do need to put boundaries in place with our guides, otherwise we would just never get any peace.
Oh, absolutely. Because they're just like, "Oh, I'm passing through. I'll give you a message for the woman you're seeing on Friday." And it's like, well, that's no good to me now.
Yeah.
And I
Mm.
agree totally. And, I have very strong boundaries with mine. I do not want messages at 3 a.m. unless it's an emergency. I don't
Mhm.
need to be seeing, dead people at the foot of my bed.
Yeah,
That would freak me just massively. And I
yeah,
did shut down my third eye as a child because I was 4 or 5 and was having these scary experiences, which if I had them now possibly would still scare me, but also
yeah,
I would understand them more because I told you about the time with the tooth fairy. Well, very clearly it was not the tooth fairy. And I would know that now. But it was still, a freaky event for a child.
yeah,
And then I spent years wanting to open my channel because it was blocked because I'd shut it down. So it was really frustrating. So I think, the more people can talk about this stuff with their children. So when children have bizarre dreams or night terrors or imaginary friends, whatever, I would calmly encourage them rather than, don't be so silly, just go back to sleep. They need to be able to express it and you can help rationalize it to them, but
mm,
they can't rationalize it. It's just scary. But if
yeah.
they were to understand it when they're 4 or 5, they're less likely to close down their chakras and their abilities. And if and when they want to work with it when they're older, it's just so much easier.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there are things that we're all, a little bit scared of, right? And we don't know everything. So if you can speak to your child or whatever it may be, and just explain what you perhaps believe, but in a very open way by asking questions. Do they feel safe? Did it feel like fun? It's when things are terrifying and we're in the overactive,
Right.
where it's becoming kind of hallucinations and paranoia, that perhaps we need to step in. Now,
Mm,
my granddaughter sees dragons.
great.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I don't see dragons. Bit jealous, actually.
Yeah, me too.
And we sit at the dinner table and she'll be talking to her dragon. And we've just made that really, really normal
Yeah.
for her. And, we'll ask her questions. Oh, what does he want to tell you today? What color is your dragon today? And we will just make it so that she doesn't feel that she's different, that she's weird, that it's something completely out of the ordinary.
Mm.
It's normal for us to all have a conversation with her dragon at dinner time.
And with that, do you encourage her to not talk about it when she's at nursery or school or whatever?
We haven't mentioned that because I don't feel that she does talk about it. I feel she only really talks about it to me and her mum,
Right.
and not really anyone else. I mean, Granddad obviously knows and asks, a few questions and encourages her. But
Yeah.
other than that, no, I don't feel that she does talk
Mm.
to other people, because obviously, that's a bit of a worry.
Well, that's what made me ask because, when people come to me, I normally say, look, keep them open, talk about it, play with crystals, make it a game, but encourage them that it's a family thing,
Yeah.
not to make them feel ashamed of it, but so that they don't get bullied by a classmate, a teacher, someone that doesn't understand it, or that makes them embarrassed and wants to shut down because someone's picked on them and they didn't have that experience at home. So I'm a big fan of keeping the kids open, but it's also about that balance because other people won't necessarily get it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the third eye is all about imagination
Mm,
as well. So, having that imagination and connecting. And to be honest, she only has her dragons and stuff when she's here. They
right.
don't seem to visit her at home
Oh, that's
as much. And
interesting.
I think that's just about environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that you were talking about that because a lot of people, when they're developing, they go, oh, I just feel like I'm making it all up. Well, actually, the imagination and the clairvoyance are literally a cigarette paper apart.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to be imaginative. Just make it up. Just tell me whatever pops in your head. Because when they lose that filter, they're not getting the, well, what if I get it wrong? What if somebody says no if I tell them I've got this little old lady with me, blah, blah, blah. And so actually, if they get rid of that filter in circle and just go blah, 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 actually someone is more likely to go, yeah, I know who that is. And they're
Mm.
like, wow, really? Okay. So I would say be imaginative. And this is why we shouldn't stop the kids from, having play where it's made up play rather than on a computer.
Yeah.
It's also reading books like Harry Potter. Oh my God, Harry Potter has done so much for the spiritual world because everyone has normalized it because Harry Potter's in the mainstream.
Yeah.
Whereas Meg the Witch from when I was a kid, not so much. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we should encourage them to daydream and to play and to be imaginative and have imaginative friends because it's flexing that muscle. So it's
Mm.
definitely good. Obviously, if we're tipping over into living in la la land, A, we're not grounded enough, and B, we need to have those boundaries because we do have to live in the real human world. We can't go around living in that imagination or that imaginative world. So it's about balance.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
but the third eye one is a classic one when people are doing a lot of development work. So when I do a Reiki workshop, for instance, because we're using all the chakras, they might get a pulsing sensation here, or they might get a headache or something because they're suddenly using it. So it's no different to going to the gym. If you overdo the weights, you're going to feel about, the aches for the next few days. So just be aware of that when you're trying out different chakras.
Definitely. And this is where headaches stem, right? Headaches, migraines, and all of that if it's blocked.
Yeah. So then we're on to the crown chakra. So anyone who's ever looked at a stained glass window and you can see the beautiful yellow color behind the head, it's not yellow, but that is the crown chakra. The crown chakra is normally determined to be violet in color. But a lot of people also see it as clear, and we use clear quartz a lot with the crown chakra. The crown chakra is your connection to the spirit world and to your guides and everything. And this is why monks used to shave the top of their head, so there was nothing between them and God. We don't need to do that anymore, you'll be pleased to know. It's also why babies' fontanella doesn't fuse straight away. I think they're about 5 when it starts to fuse. And they're the plates in the head, the skull bones, and they're kind of open and not fused for a few years. And it does seem to coincide with when that fuses is when kids can start to lose that intuitiveness that they've displayed for the rest of their life, so their early years. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So there are 3 higher chakras from this point that connect very nicely with the crown chakra. So when you're starting out, like Tracy says, this is the chakra that we're going to really start working with so that you can build that connection, that trust, and connect into higher consciousness and enlightenment. For me, the 8th chakra, which is the soul star chakra, is where we connect in with the Akashic Records. So I tend to work a little bit higher than the crown chakra. And this is where the Akashic Records are stored. Sorry, someone keeps tickling me. Got a guide coming in that clearly wants to speak because he keeps tickling the top of my head. So the crown chakra is a great place to start when you're on this journey. And then as you start to develop and you're connecting to higher beings, you're going to need to connect to the higher chakras. So when the crown chakra is blocked, I feel this is where perhaps a little bit of depression comes from. Disconnection. Do you agree with that?
Oh, totally. Yeah. If you're not going to be able to access your crown chakra, then, you're going to just feel like there's nothing there. It's like having an empty phone line. You're going, hello, hello, who's there? So, yeah, totally.
Yeah, and lack of purpose as well, which I also believe is in the Earth Star chakra as well. I feel it can show up in both.
Yeah. Well, don't forget there's overlap. So that makes perfect sense for it to show up in 2 different ones.
Yeah.
Also, it can give you like lots of bizarre dreams and things if it's overactive. And if it's underactive, you might not feel that you're having any dreams. And it's where we get a lot of downloads from spirit as well, because they'll bring us information, but because there's no time in spirit, they might drop an idea in now, but we don't need it till next year. So that can be strange as well.
Very much so. And we talked about safety at the beginning. This is where a nervous system is connected. So if we're not feeling safe in our root chakra and our earth star chakra, it shows up in the crown chakra as well, as nervous system issues.
Absolutely. And, you know, with all of the chakra system, there is a ton of stuff that you can do at home to rebalance it and to keep check on it, because this is not a one and done. You can't just, you know, whip out your pendulum, check over your chakras and go, brilliant, I'm done, cross that off the list. Because, you know, I was listening to the news this morning, just, I don't normally listen to the news, but it popped up on something, and there was some grim stuff on there, and that can dysregulate you and make you go, oh my God, you know. And someone read something out to me yesterday, which, you know, if I'd have known they were going to do that, I'd have probably left the room, because I don't need to know about death and destruction and things, because it, you know, upsets the nervous system and I can't do anything about it, you know. And so definitely pendulums if you're into your pendulums, crystals if you're not into pendulums, visualization, meditation. Suzi and I have both got meditations and visualizations that you can buy if you're not very good at doing your own. There are loads on YouTube. My only issue with that is I don't know how good the person is doing it, so I can't really recommend too many people because I don't know enough of who's on there. So just go with your gut instincts. If the person feels right, then use their work. If it doesn't feel right, then don't. There's a lot of tools out there that you can use, including Reiki and the tapping one where you tap on the meridians, which is EFT and TFT. So there's loads of different ways. I know when I'm doing a session, I work through to clear what comes up. And, you know, I know that you do something similar as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, like when we know these things have come up, that we actually work with it, right? That's part of embodiment. And that's really, really important. So I think we've given lots of information today on the feels like a mini course.
It has been a lot, but there is a lot to it. But definitely, I would recommend that people journal and work the way through. You can spend like a whole week just chatting to your chakra and find out what's going on, or you can go through all of them in one day and then do it again the next day, because there will be layers. So definitely, you know, do take time to do this. And if you need any help, then, you know, drop us some comments. And later in the podcast, we will look at the higher dimensional ones. But right now, those basic ones need your time and attention, because they're going to mess with everything that you want to do and potentially get in the way. So definitely go and work on those ASAP.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, you know, drop us some comments so that, you know, we can help you past this podcast. Like we'd love to know if there's anything particular coming up for you, how you work with your chakras, how you clear them, you know, whatever you want to share with us.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's one of those things that everybody's individual. So, you know, what we do and what you do may not be the same. It might resonate for you, it might not. But now that you know it's a problem, you can go and find the tool that does work for you. So don't be afraid to try different stuff to get rid of those blocks. And, you know, we are doing a session on the 27th of August where we're going to be doing different readings, psychic readings, Akashic Records readings, messages from your loved ones in spirit and from spirit themselves. So if your guides or the spirit world have got anything you need to know about, then they'll tell us. And that's a great way to find out what's going on and what needs clearing. So you can get the details of that in the show notes. So do come and join us and we'll happily work with you, and we'll no doubt end up talking about more of this on the 27th as well.
100%. We're also going to be doing some live TikToks together as well. So you can join us on either of our channels, both of our channels, and come support us and have a card pull or a message from us. So our first one is Wednesday, the 20th.
Yeah, 20th of August. And then, you know, I don't know how regular we're going to do these because there's a lot going on. But if we even just do them monthly, if it's super busy, but they're a great way to see how we work and get an idea of different things that are out there. So, you know, we're happy to share and work with our different skills for you.
Fantastic. What an amazing show.
Yeah, it's been great fun. They've all been fun so far. I can't imagine us ever doing one that's not fun. I just hope it's as fun for everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so much that we could share. We've both been doing this for a long time, and
Mm.
we both have our different knowledges and our different experiences that we just want to come and share with you.
Absolutely, because it's not always easy to find the answers. And if you don't know about something, you can't even go and look for it in the first place. You know, if you've never heard of the Akashic Records, you're not going to go and look it up, you
Yeah,
know. So if we can help with you, help you with the breadcrumbs and help, point you in the right direction, then, that's our job done.
fantastic. I can't wait for next week.
No, brilliant. So good luck, everybody. We'll be back with you next week. And we look forward to your comments and look forward to any messages from you. So see you later.
Brilliant. Ciao for now.